request for committees to meet today during sessions of the Senate. They have the approval of the majority and minority leaders.
Duly noted.
Mr. President, I rise today to seek unanimous consent to confirm 4 nominees to posts that are critical to our response to Putin's war against Ukraine. Through smoke and rubble and artillery fire, Ukrainians are leaving their homes with nothing more than a backpack, nothing more than their children in their hands. Over the past 20 days, Vladimir Putin's illegal and horrific assault on Ukraine has led more than 3 million refugees to flee into neighboring countries. Those who remain are suffering from a dire and deteriorating humanitarian situation. With Putin's army blocking aid convoys, millions of Ukrainians are facing lack of water, food, and heat. Meanwhile, Putin orders unprovoked, unjustified attacks on civilians, shelling apartment buildings, bombing maternity hospitals, and destroying kindergartens, committing atrocities throughout the country. The United States and the world have a duty to exact costs on Putin, to demand accountability for war crimes, and to provide aid for the millions of innocent Ukrainians who are suffering. If we want to rise to this challenge, if we want to respond to the mounting human suffering, one thing is clear. We need to have the people in place, the people the President has selected to lead and carry out this work. Their leadership is critical in our response to the growing crisis in Ukraine and the looming refugee crisis across Eastern Europe. They will fight to defend human rights when they are violated. They will fight to defend democracy when it is attacked. And they will make sure we maximize the pain and the price Putin pays for this heinous war. That is why we must confirm Jim O'Brien. He is the President's nominee for coordinator for sanctions. This is our most significant tool against Putin and his regime. Sanctions. This is the President's nominee for coordinator of sanctions. Once confirmed, he'll enhance the Biden administration's efforts with our allies and partners to impose devastating costs on Russia. To date, more than 30 nations have joined this cause. Countries have stepped up that we never would have expected. But the fight is not over. We have to keep up the pressure. We must keep up the coordination, and we must ensure that we are implementing and enforcing sanctions in concert with dozens of countries around the globe. Now, I know my Republican colleagues agree that this must be a top priority. I've heard it on the Foreign Relations Committee. We need to do more sanctions. I've heard it on the Senate floor. I've heard it in conversations with my colleagues. We need to even do more. I know they want our sanctions to be as effective as possible, so to them I say, confirm Jim O'Brien today. Now, Mr. President, I can also give you 3 million reasons why we must confirm Julieta Valls-Noyes, the nominee to be the Assistant Secretary for the Bureau for Population, Refugees, and Migration. Because 3 million people have already fled their homes in Ukraine. 3 million people have left a war-torn country with their dreams shattered, their children traumatized. 3 million people who have no idea where the future holds. And even as I speak, that number has surely been surpassed. There is a reason we have the Population, Refugees, and Migration Bureau. There is a reason the President selects a qualified nominee to lead it. Ms. Noyes is that person. It is a travesty that Ms. Noyes' nomination has been languishing on the Senate floor for 148 days because of Republican holds. We need a Senate-confirmed leader in place to take charge of the U.S. response to the refugee crisis forming in Europe, as well as the crises that already exist around the world. We need someone to work alongside our European allies as they face the fastest-growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. We need her confirmed today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. And the humanitarian crisis inside Ukraine is worsening every day. We can all see it for ourselves. You can see the images of Mariupol, with more than 200,000 civilians remain under siege, cut off from food, fighting for their lives. You can see the frightened faces of children crossing the border into Poland, carrying only a teddy bear and a change of clothes. This is a trauma that they will struggle with for the rest of their lives. So it baffles me that we would wait another hour, let alone another day, to even think about confirming Ambassador Erin McKee as the Assistant Secretary for Europe and Eurasia at USAID. The minute she gets in the door, the minute we send her to USAID, she will get to work on behalf of the millions of Ukrainians who are suffering. She will make sure that we are meeting basic needs, that we are helping Ukraine's neighbors shoulder the burden of the crisis. Let her get to work. Let her help the people of Ukraine today. Finally, there is the danger that Putin will unleash a chemical weapons attack against Ukraine. The Bureau of International Security and Non-Proliferation has a crucial role to play here, not just to prevent the spread of chemical weapons, but to help safeguard all nuclear materials and facilities in Ukraine. To do this, the nominee to be Assistant Secretary for that bureau, the International Security and Non-Proliferation, Dr. Elliot Kang, would work with the Ukrainian government, our allies, and the International Atomic Energy Agency. But because of Republican delays, he has not yet been confirmed, despite the fact that he was nominated 328 days ago. 328 days ago. Think about that. That was almost a year ago, and he has not yet been confirmed. Mr. President, because we cannot wait, because of the people of Ukraine cannot wait, I rise to seek unanimous consent for the confirmation of these four nominees. Each of them move to the Foreign Relations Committee with bipartisan support. There is no reason for Republicans to block their confirmation. The situation in Ukraine is dire, and our national security demands it. So, because of that, thank you. I need. I ask unanimous consent the Senate consider the following nominations in block. Calendars 462, 783, and 784. That the Senate vote on the nominations in block without intervening action or debate. The motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate. That any statements related to the nominations be printed in the record, and that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objections?
Mr. President,
Senator from Florida.
reserving the right to object. The Biden administration has failed to properly oversee the Pan American Health Organization, or PAHO. President Biden and Secretary Blinken know that PAHO has cooperated with the communist regime in Cuba to traffic doctors overseas. And they know that there are Cuban doctors who are trying to sue PAHO and hold their traffickers accountable. Here are the facts. In July 2013, the Cuban Ministry of Health signed an agreement with the Brazilian Ministry of Health to formalize an arrangement for Cuban doctors to provide medical services in Brazil. That agreement required the administration of former Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff to transmit a monthly payment through PAHO to the Cuban Ministry of Health for the medical services provided by each Cuban doctor serving in Brazil. It also prevented Cuban doctors from seeking employment in Brazil outside of the formal structure of the agreement. More than 20,000 Cuban medical professionals serve in Brazil under the Mais Medicos program, had their wages stolen by the Cuban government and received only a small fraction of what they earned. Their family members were prohibited from accompanying them, and many had their passports confiscated. Cuban doctors were the only medical professionals participating in the Mais Medicos program who had their salaries directly garnished by their government. Meanwhile, doctors from other countries serving in Brazil received the full wages for their medical services. Other Cuban doctors have suffered similar abuses in Angola, Guatemala, Mexico, Qatar, and Venezuela. For example, in 2019, a group of Cuban doctors reported that they had been directed and often coerced to use their medical services to influence votes in favor of the Maduro regime, including by denying medical treatment to opposition supporters and by giving precise voting instructions to elderly patients. This gross program is a huge moneymaker for the communist thugs, ruling thugs in Cuba. In 2018 alone, they pocketed more than $6.3 billion from exporting Cuban professionals to work overseas. And medical missions by Cuban doctors represent a majority of those profits. Since I came to the Senate in 2019, I've been fighting for these Cuban doctors and against human trafficking. I know my colleague from New Jersey has also voiced concerns about this issue in the past. But nothing has been done to hold PAHO accountable. PAHO is hiding behind legal immunity. President Biden has the power to lift their immunity, and I've requested this administration to do so multiple times, but they've shamefully declined. It's wrong. Victims of trafficking deserve to see their alleged abusers in court, and PAHO should never be able to hide behind claims of immunity to avoid accountability for the role in facilitating those abuses. I've informed Secretary Blinken that until substantial steps toward fulfilling this request are made, I will be blocking all relevant State Department nominees. Americans deserve qualified and competent people in positions of power who put American interests first. If this administration wants to appease dictators like they have with the Castro and Diaz-Canel regimes, I'm going to hold them accountable. Therefore, Madam President, I object.
Objection is heard.
Madam President, I'd like to ask the senator from Florida, through the chair, does the Assistant Administrator for Europe and Eurasia at USAID have anything to do with PAHO? Does the Assistant Secretary for International Security and Nonproliferation have anything to do with PAHO? I guess the senator doesn't want to engage in a colloquy. Madam President, it's amazing to me. My colleagues who get up and applaud Zelensky, my colleagues who come to the Senate floor and talk about both the need to help Ukraine and the humanitarian realities that are compounding every day. And yet here we are with 4 pertinent key positions that could help in regards to each and every one of those elements. And on some unrelated issue, not Ukraine, not even Europe, not about proliferation, not about humanitarian response. No, there is a wholesale objection. Now, if you wanted to pick your objection and target it, that might make sense. But I'm deeply troubled that the junior senator from Florida is once again obstructing the Senate's responsibility to provide advice and consent on presidential nominations, not only preventing us from fulfilling our constitutional duties, but in this case, moreover, he is single-handedly undermining the ability of the United States government to respond fully to Russia's brutal invasion. In doing so, he seeks to single-handedly damage our ability to ensure a coordinated international effort to sanction Putin, his cronies, sectors of the Russian government. He is undercutting the United States government's ability to support the Ukrainian people and our allies. He is undercutting our ability to provide and coordinate the humanitarian assistance for 3 million Ukrainians who have left and millions more who are inside of the country and need help. It is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Get up and then come to the floor and object to the very things that can make it happen. Mind-boggling. Now, let me address the issue that the junior senator from Florida has raised here today, the Cuban regime's trafficking of doctors and medical personnel. Simply put, the Diaz-Canel regime, like the Castro regime before it, does subject Cuban doctors to forced labor, schemes abroad while pocketing the doctors' wages in profit-making schemes that generates billions of dollars annually. Now, I have been working on this issue since before my colleague ever held public office. I've engaged multiple administrations on this issue. We've actually authored legislation and resolutions on the subject. So my track record of standing up for Cuban doctors who are trafficked by the Cuban regime eclipses that of any other member of Congress, period. But my God, as passionate as I am about that issue, no one will be more passionate than me. It is not right to hold up everything we are trying to do on Ukraine. This is a global emergency. The fate of not only Ukraine, but of democracy and its ability to achieve victory is in the thread. And here we have objections to critical positions that can help us make sure that we win in that battle. Let me try one other thing. I want to make in order the same request that I previously made with respect to Calendar 788, Erin Elizabeth McKee to be an Assistant Administrator of the United States Agency for International Development.
Is there objection? Senator from Kansas.
Yeah, Madam President, thank you. I object.
Objection is heard.
Okay, Madam President, so here we go. The person who would be responsible for helping the humanitarian challenge in Ukraine and in the surrounding countries where 3 million people have fled to, we can't get her in position. Can't get her into a position to do the job, to help millions of Ukrainians who are fleeing. I don't understand how the party of Reagan, the party of freedom and democracy, the party of standing up to these people, can actually create a set of circumstances where this is like helping Putin at the end of the day. It's like helping Putin at the end of the day. Now, while Senator Marshall didn't speak to it, I understand his concerns are about COVID origins. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's been a lively topic of discussion in many fora, including the Senate. But these concerns have nothing to do with Ambassador McKee and what she is nominated for, Assistant Administrator for Europe and Eurasia. All of us, including Senator Marshall, know we need to do everything possible to support Ukrainians in their time of need. Blocking Ambassador McKee is self-defeating. It's also not clear to me what more USAID can do to satisfy Senator Marshall. I've inquired because I heard that this was the issue. USAID has been engaged at the most senior levels in trying to be helpful and responsive to Senator Marshall. They've offered him and his team briefings, and I understand that none of those offers have been accepted. They also have pointed Senator Marshall's office to a wealth of information on specific USAID project of interest. So I would urge the senator, instead of blocking nominees, to act on USAID's multiple briefing offers and engage them meaningfully. That would be more helpful to his ultimate goal, but not to helping Putin at the end of the day, not being able to take care of the humanitarian needs of Ukrainians. I've seen a lot over my course of 40 years in public service and 30 years in the Congress. This is mind-boggling. But more than that, it really undermines our national security. It really undermines our help for the Ukrainian people. And so I hope that some saner minds will prevail in the days ahead when I come back to the floor to try this once again. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.
The senator from Rhode Island.
Madam President, I'm joined on the floor